a really important perspective to take is values, principles, morals. How do these affect how we act in an agile way? Let's cover off the terms first, because there can be confusion about it, how I'm using these terms. Values are the fundamental beliefs that are important to you. Now, if in doubt, just go with the Scrum values because they've been tried and tested, and use the force: focus, openness, respect, courage, and commitment. When you have a look at David Rock's work on brain science, you've got the SCARF model. And what it's helped me understand is one of my core values is fairness. When things are unfair, it causes an internal cognitive and emotional dissonance that shuts me down because I get so frustrated that things are unfair. Wake up, sunshine. The world's not fair. Okay. Well, there we go. But so you've got values. So they're core. They're the root of your behavior. The next thing that tacks on that is beliefs. Now, beliefs are the heuristic. They're the guardrails that guide our actions. So if I believe the world is flat, I probably wouldn't go sailing. And this is where we need to be mindful that people's beliefs, sometimes they can be limiting, sometimes they can encourage greatness. You have a look at truly stellar performers. Like, take astronauts, they're the most amazing polymaths. You know, I've had the luck and the opportunity to meet two amazing astronauts. These wonderful people just learn another language. I needed to learn Russian because I was going up in a Russian craft, said Chris Hadfield. So he learned Russian. You know, he sacrificed some personal kit to get that guitar up into the space station because it was important to him just to be able to play music. And when you're talking about every gram counting, that's a big thing. But he knew that guardrail was there, and that was one of his ways of relaxing and creating a greater sense of community in the space station. When I met Tim Peake and he had his talk, he described his belief and his understanding that he wanted to achieve that higher greatness, so that if you believe you can do it, you can. So that's a belief. It's a guardrail. Beliefs build on values. And then the last thing we have is morals. Morals is our sense of what is right and wrong. Now, this will come from many aspects. It'll come from your family. It'll come from your culture. It'll come from your nationality, because certain things in certain domains will feel morally right or wrong. Tying it all together, you then have ethical behavior. Now, ethics is the application of moral principles. So this is, if you do not have any radar of what right or wrong is, it becomes very difficult to say that you're behaving ethically, right? And so I was thinking about this. You know, are there any examples of poor ethical behavior that people may resonate with? And off the top of my head, I came up with 4. The first one is the Volkswagen emissions scandal, right? That was a conscious choice to hide things. People are doing time in prison for that. The Ford Pinto example, where there was the conscious choice to launch a car that had a potentially deadly design defect. They launched it, and people died. But somebody made a moral calculation from a spreadsheet, and they figured out it was going to be easier to pay out the class action than to actually address the design defect in the car. That's an ethical choice. They put money in front of people, and that's one of the real downfalls of capitalism, but don't start me on that one. Now, digging into it a bit further, I've got 3 more for you. You can search these out. In Australia, the previous government implemented a scheme that's now been called robo-debt. It was eventually run by the bloke who became the Prime Minister, where it was automated pursuit of overpaid benefits, except they weren't overpaid. It drove people to suicide. That's morally bankrupt as far as I'm concerned. You're putting people in such a position they don't want it. Another one, very similar, the post office scandal in the UK that ran between 2000 and 2014. So you have like people in small shops that would run post offices on the side. There was a fundamental defect in the IT system that the post office were using, and they were accusing these people of theft and fraud, even though they knew the system was broken. But rather than admit they had a problem with their technology, they accused these people of theft, causing bankruptcies and suicides and stuff like that. And to cap it all, the Panama Papers of 2016, which exposed that, hey, who knew it, but the world's richest people are hiding their money so they don't pay tax. Who knew? Ethics. Ethics is doing what is right, what is for the greater good, making a small personal sacrifice so that the world is a better place. This is a wonderful worldview to me, and it resonates with me. And I'm currently reading the works of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, and he was one of the founders of Stoicism. And Stoicism boils down to, it's not the person with the most toys who wins, it's those who make a better tomorrow for the others of today. And to me, that's ethical. And that is based on my values, my beliefs, my ethics. Have you taken the time to think about what your core values are? Now, what are we going to do about this? So we're at work and somebody says, hey, can you fudge this system so that the emissions are lower? Hey, could you do this? Should we release into production knowing that we haven't quite finished our testing? Let's say something simple like that. That's an ethical choice. What do you do when you're faced with potentially ethical, belief, value-based challenges? And this is where Agile stands up, because it's about transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So the first thing is be transparent. Know what your values are. Spend some time on that. It doesn't take you too long in your favorite search engine of choice to find an exercise that will help you think about your values. It's iterative. You could just write down 20 words that sum up how you feel, how you guide yourself, and just whittle it down to around 5. Around. From that, you'll then think about what your guiding beliefs are. So if you know your values, you'll be able to better describe why you feel uncomfortable with certain things. Because if something goes against your values, that will cause you the dissonance. You'll feel it. You'll know it. So that's the first thing. Know what your values are, what your beliefs are, what your boundaries are. And then the second thing that comes in is we must always assume positive intent. It's just so easy to jump in and assume someone's misbehaving or being a jerk because it's easy. It's lazy thinking. That's what it is. And it's also against the Agile values. It's against being human. Like, everyone's got other stuff going on. Right? We've all got a life going on around us. We've got friends coming in and out of our life. You know, we have the tragedies of humanity, you know, the death of loved ones, things happening. We've got the joyous things, finding new friends, you know, family, connections, all that stuff's going on. And then we've got the mundane stuff like your sports teams winning and, you know, hangovers and stuff like that. So people may not be acting in such a way deliberately. So you have to assume positive intent. And so this is where we stand in the space that's so important as a Scrum Master: humble compassion, humble curiosity. Hey, I noticed this is going on. Could you help me understand your thinking behind it? Oh, okay. I see that differently. What evidence would you need to change your mind about that? Curiously enough, if we explore things together, you will help people change their mind. If you go straight in and attack someone's beliefs, I pretty well guarantee you're going to hit massive resistance. It's uncomfortable when poor behavior is called out. No one likes being reminded that they're human and fallible. So you've got to be kind, right? Think about how you'd like to be approached if something you did was probably substandard. We're all going to do it. You know, it's going to happen. So be kind when you approach other people. So that's the second thing you got to do. The third thing you got to do is you got to have your red lines. At what point do you walk? Now, this may be easier for, some than others. It may be financial. Like, how many times have you stuck with a really shitty situation because you needed the money, right? Supporting your family, filthy, dirty lucre. All right, I'll just shut up and put up. Right? That's okay. So, but if you define your boundaries, there, start looking for the next job, please. For great evil to happen, it means the great majority needs to be silent. If you're silent when you see something going wrong, you are complicit. Don't be complicit. So determine your values, assume positive intent, have your clear boundaries. There's been a couple of times in my career where I've turned around and said to the client, look, do you know what? I've got to go because you're wasting my time and your money. And it's just not working out. Figure out at what point do you reach down and grab that black and yellow handle and eject, eject, eject.